And 17 on set this morning, and joining us this morning is Dr. Gonzales, here to talk about how rage can become a powerful emotion. Good morning, thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
This is something that is still early on, this investigation, of course, but a lot of people are asking, how does something like this happen?
Well, it's tragic. And Alex, driving over today, I heard that song, How Do You Mend a Broken Heart? There's a lot of broken hearts out there today, and we should pray for the healing of those broken hearts. But we're all capable of being destructive, all of us, if we put ourselves in that neck of the woods. And there's a recipe that we all have to be aware of. If we're in a situation where we feel threats to our security and we have high anxiety, and if we're obsessive, one of those types that it's hard to put things down, where it could help us be successful but can work to our demise, and we also don't have trust, we're insecure, and you throw in a kicker, if there's any substance abuse that might affect our judgment, our prefrontal cortex, that can be a recipe for destructive behavior. About 8 years ago, we had a very prominent physician in town, a female, that ended up in a chimney, dead, and took her own life because of this kind of situation. O.J. Simpson, for those who are older, remember, a very prominent, very successful man ended up killing his wife. How does this happen? We're all capable of being destructive. We need to recognize that neck of the woods and get out of there.
Now, you said that this can happen to anyone. So what do you need to look out for if someone that you care about may be of concern?
Well, if you're in a situation, like I said, where there's no trust and you're obsessive and you're anxious and you feel threats to your security, you have high anxiety, we're not capable of being rational in those situations. There's no blood going to our brain. It's all fight or flight. And in those situations, you need to encourage your friend to get out of there. Go restore yourself. Don't make big, it's one thing to protect yourself. The fight or flight mode's there to protect us. If you're in combat or if there's a threat to your family, you need to protect yourself. But most of these situations aren't like that. Most of these situations, we perceive a threat. And if you're in that neck of the woods where you're obsessing, you feel insecure, there's no trust, you can't put it down, you need to back off, take a break, restore yourself through music, meditation, and get restored, get that adrenaline out of your system, and then come back and approach it later.
I want to touch on something that Sheriff Youngblood said yesterday during a news conference. He said, unfortunately, this is becoming the new normal. Across the nation, we've seen mass shootings. This is a kind of a different situation here from what it appears. But a lot of people in the community are just seeing time and time again violence in our community and, of course, across the nation. And I know that there's probably a lot of people out there, a lot of family members who are kind of concerned about their young ones who may be seeing this. And how do you go about talking to them about what's going on?
It's a good point, Alex, and it's everywhere. The digital era is everywhere. Our children are being inundated with information, so we have a responsibility to navigate them through that situation. And with young kids, I think you always start with, what do they know first? What do they know about this situation, and work from there. You don't want to freak them out with your own projections about this stuff, but start with what they know and move from there. And keep it at a language that's age appropriate. Don't get any gore. Assure their security and safety, and don't let them be too desensitized to too much of this violence. Monitor the TV, monitor the computer, and help them navigate through this stuff.
I also want to talk about, obviously, we have there were 5 people that were killed, and then a suicide. So there's a lot of people who are affected by this. Personally, they knew these people. How do you go about healing during something like this, when it becomes personal?
There's a lot of collateral damage you mentioned. It's a long process. There's 2 things. One of them is there's a lot of trauma. It's going to take a long time to make this fit, about what happened, how they responded, what this brings up for them, but also the stages of grief. They've lost people, they've lost loved ones. And so they're going to have to go through the stages of grief, and it's going to take a lot of support and a lot of love to help these people along.
All right, Dr. Gonzales, thanks so much for joining us this morning and talking about this issue. We really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, Alex.
Maddie?